Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Clare Johnson, and I'm delighted to be here to talk to you about lucid dream healing. So, for those of you who don't know me, I've spent my whole life dedicated to lucid dreaming. I had my first lucid dream when I was 3 years old. That was just a flash of lucidity, and I then went on to actually study it at university. I did some undergraduate work first of all, just looking at the imagery within lucid dreams, this super real kind of sense of reality that we get into when we're lucid dreaming. And then I became the first person in the world to do a PhD on lucid dreaming as a creative tool. And during my PhD research, I wrote a lucid dream inspired novel. And I just started to experiment really intensely with my lucid dreams to find out what was possible. And that's what gradually led me into learning more and teaching more about lucid dream healing. Because during the PhD, I developed a technique called lucid writing, which is when you focus on a dream you've had and you allow it to take you into a kind of trance, a relaxed state of consciousness where you're awake, but you're also in this dream world. You're also connected with the unconscious. And from that state, you can write without stopping to think. So this lucid writing became my main creativity technique. But it was only when I started to teach it in workshops around 2003, so 20 years ago now, that I understood that it was also a transformative healing technique. People in the workshops would start to spontaneously heal themselves from nightmares or understand why they were in these negative patterns in their lives and free up so much energy. So then I started to study lucid dream healing more intensely. And I wrote Llewellyn's complete book of lucid dreaming, which has various chapters on lucid dreaming of emotional issues, also physical healing in lucid dreams, and even whether we can heal other people in our lucid dreams. So that book goes very deeply into all these topics. And of course, I've undertaken many lucid dream healings on myself, tried it many times on other people as well, and I've also taught these techniques. So I think one of the first things we need to think about when we have a physical issue in our body is, well, why has this illness arisen in my life? Why is it here at this particular moment? Does it have some kind of a lesson for me? And so as I talk, you can be perhaps thinking about any physical issues you have or emotional issues, and see if you can kind of think about, well, why might they have arisen when they did in your life? What else was going on in your life? We all know that stress can cause all sorts of difficult things to happen emotionally, but also in the body. And dreams and the body are very, very tightly interlinked. So you can also be thinking about whether you've ever had a healing dream, any beautiful healing imagery in your dreams, or perhaps you've already tried a lucid dream healing. And be open to the fact as well that sometimes nightmares can be there to help us to heal. As amazing as that may sound to some people, nightmares have loads of energy, and sometimes they can really catapult us into healing. And sometimes we'll be chased by something terrible in our dreams. We'll have nightmares about an animal chasing us and we think it wants to eat us, but then we'll discover when we work with that dream that in fact that animal is there to help us in the healing process. As a quick example, one woman dreamed all the time she was being chased by a black panther, and she knew it wanted to destroy her, tear her limb from limb. But when she went back into that dream in the waking state and worked with it, she understood why the panther was there, because she asked it, and it said, I am here to help you battle your cancer. So sometimes these dream animals or dream guides will emerge in our dreams in a very powerful, forceful way to make us really look at, why we have the illness, or to help us through this illness, to give us the strength, the resilience, and the healing power we need to actually get through the illness. So it's really good to go into all of this with a very open mind, and consider that the illness may have an emotional core. Some people even find that there's sort of intergenerational trauma that has caused a particular illness to arise in their own body. So we can be open to that as well. Yeah, there can be all sorts of reasons for the illness. So see if you can ask yourself, why do I have this particular physical problem? It's always good just to throw that question out there. And of course, the advantage of a lucid dream is that when we become lucid in a dream, we can actually ask, directly engage with our unconscious and ask, why do I have this illness? Is it here to teach me something? What can I learn from this? So that's the advantage of being in a fully lucid dream state. It's a magical, amazing thing to happen. But I always tell people as well, because I always get people writing me emails and asking me, oh, Dr. Johnson, I really want to heal, but I never have lucid dreams. That means I can't heal, they say. But it's just not true, because lucidity is simply awareness. It's a raised level of awareness during the sleep state, during the dream state. And so we can also work with our awareness in other lucid states of consciousness. You don't have to be lucid in a dream to be able to access the amazing healing potential that we all have. So I'll go through a few lucid states of consciousness. I'm sure that you will also recognize these states of consciousness because they're incredibly common. So as I've said, one of the states of consciousness is lucid dreaming. You can face your attacker, you can ask questions about the illness, you can get information about it, and perhaps even heal yourself within that lucid dream. We'll talk more about that later. The second state of consciousness is when we do waking dream work. So that's when we bring our waking lucidity to the dream and we work with it in lucid writing, for example, as I just mentioned, or in the lucid imaging nightmare solution. That's another of my core techniques, where you go back into a nightmare with that lucid attention. You kind of close your eyes, bring that nightmare back in your mind's eye, and then you go back and imagine yourself lucid in that nightmare with all the possibilities of dream lucidity, and see if you can reach a healing solution within that dream re-entry. This can be very effective. One woman said that she was always being chased by these terrible beasts. They would chase her through forests, across rivers. She was always trying to get away from them. And she used the lucid imaging nightmare solution to go back into that dream while she was awake, visualizing it really strongly. And as she ran away, she thought, okay, well, I don't need to run away because I'm safe. This is a dream re-entry. So she turned around and faced all these beasts that were chasing her and realized, in fact, that they were there to help her. Sometimes they were mythological beasts, sometimes they were giants, sometimes they were monsters, but they were all there giving her their energy because they loved her and they wanted to help her in life. And this made her realize how many very powerful inner resources she had. So that's just a brief example of the kind of thing that you can do with waking dream work. It's a form of lucidity. When we bring our waking awareness, our waking consciousness to our dream imagery and play with it, work with it, engage with it, and spontaneously allow things to emerge. We may receive information, we may uncover the reason for a particular illness that's cropped up in our lives, or we may simply understand that we have allies. We have so much help. We are all far stronger than we think we are. Okay. Then another lucid state of consciousness is lucid hypnagogia. So I'm sure most of you know what hypnagogia is, but if you don't, it's just the pre-sleep imagery or sensations that we experience as we are falling asleep. So every single night or every single time we fall asleep, whether it's for an afternoon nap or at the beginning of the night or when we go back to sleep after 5 or 6 hours, we will go through the hypnagogic state. And many of us, unfortunately, completely miss this because we just lose consciousness, we switch off our awareness. But it's really good to practice just lying there and staying aware as you're falling asleep. Not only can it lead to wake-initiated lucid dreaming, which is fantastic in itself, but it's also an incredibly creative, healing state of consciousness. It's almost like it's one of my very favorite states of consciousness. See, lucid dreaming is my huge passion, out-of-body experiences as well, but lucid hypnagogia is just incredible. It's so creative. There's always surprising things that come up in that state. We can move from that state into lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences, or experiences in the black void, where we're floating in what feels like infinite space. And we can also watch dreams being built. We can watch the building blocks of dreams. I love that. But what we can also do in that very creative state of consciousness is issue an intention for healing. Healing is really, really based on intention in many ways. When we're lucid in a dream, our intention changes the dream completely because the dream is a thought-responsive environment. It reacts to our thoughts, feelings, emotions, intentions, desires. And it's the same in the hypnagogic state. When we drop an intention into the hypnagogic state, it's like dropping a pebble or a stone into a pond. You get all these ripples going out. So your intention for healing will ripple out into your unconscious and change things. You'll begin the healing process in that state of consciousness. So I encourage you all to explore your hypnagogia if you don't already. Yeah, and then another lucid state of consciousness is what I call lucid journeying. And I've created many online courses and audio visualizations which take people on these lucid journeys. They're like lucid dream inductions, but at the same time, those are kind of almost like a magical state of consciousness. It works with the hypnagogic state and it takes you a little deeper than the hypnagogic as well. And you start to have these visualizations while you're in that guided meditation, you're on that lucid journey. And in lucid journeying, you can encounter guides or power animals. You can find yourself immersed in a healing environment. And this can really transform the body. It can transform our physical body. This is the other thing that's fascinating about physical illness. It manifests in this body, this physical body, right? But we can heal it almost best, I think, when we are in the dream body or the energy body. So there's this magic moment when you're falling asleep, just on the very edge of sleep, or you're on a lucid journey, you're listening to some prompts about where you are, and you reach this magic moment where you can't feel your physical body anymore. It's kind of like you're just sort of floating. And that's magical because it means that we have reached the point where our physical body has fallen asleep, right? But we are lucidly aware. We know we're listening to this guided journey, and at the same time, we're not in the physical body as much. We've taken on the dream body, the lucid dream body. And that is fantastic to work with this lucid dream body for healing. We can direct healing energy to the body part which has an issue. We can simply visualize ourselves in vibrant physical health. We can ask a medical figure to help us to heal, or invite our ancestors to help us to heal. So many different possibilities in these lucid journeys. And then another lucid state of consciousness, which we most often encounter in the lucid dream state, is what I call the lucid light. Now, you will all have had experiences, I imagine, with light. light can be one of the most powerful forces for healing, light and love. But the lucid light is often, it often gives you that sense of a purely loving, supportive environment when you find yourselves within it. So, for example, in a lucid dream, if you would like to try to have an experience of the lucid light, in your next lucid dream, you can simply ask, show me the lucid light, and see what happens. And generally in your dreams, you can look out for light. It could be the moon shining in the sky. It could be a reflection in a puddle on the dream ground. Could be an electric light in your dream. It doesn't matter. But these sources of light, if you move towards them, then you are also moving towards healing. Now, I've had experiences where I have healed myself from physical issues in this lucid light. So once, many years ago, before I got pregnant, I discovered that I had a uterine fibroid. So fibroid is a tumor, but it's not a cancerous one. It's benign. But still, I didn't really want to to have that tumor in my womb because I wanted to start having I wanted to have a baby. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to work on trying to dissolve or free myself from this tumor. And I worked on this in several ways. I worked on it in my lucid dreams, where I would invite healing, just generally ask the dream, please help me to heal, and see what happened there. Sometimes I'd be lifted into the air, or I would feel a sense of energy moving around my midriff. But I also had these spontaneous experiences where I'd find myself floating in orange light, just orange light. And these experiences went on for ages. I mean, they were like timeless experiences. And I did not ask, oh, I'd like to float in orange light. They just spontaneously happened. And that was, I think, very powerful. And I also had affirmations that I would use in waking meditation. So I used a combination of things, right? These spontaneous lucid light environments, asking for help, asking for healing in a lucid dream. And then I also had these affirmations that I would use during the day when I was meditating. And the affirmation that I liked the best was, the only thing that grows in my womb is a baby. Right? So that meant, because I had to try and find this balance between trying to rid something from my uterus and yet welcome the baby. The only thing that grows in my womb is a baby. That one worked really well for me. And in fact, what happened was I became pregnant. The fibroid was still there at the beginning, but it didn't grow any bigger, even though the doctors had said it would because they feed off estrogen. And then as the baby got bigger, nobody could see the fibroid anymore, and it just basically disappeared and it's never come back. So that was, for me, I don't know, it's just really lovely to see that I could influence my physical body by working in these different ways, these different lucid states of consciousness. And I have many stories that I can share with you about lucid dream healing. But I think it's good, I really want to press home the point that we don't have to be lucid in the dream to access this deep, powerful healing ability that we all have. Okay, it can be any lucid state of consciousness, such as the ones I've just mentioned. And some of you may be asking, well, how does it work to heal your body in a lucid dream? Well, dream actions have a physical effect on the body. You all know that if you've ever woken up from a nightmare, you're sweating, your heart is pounding, you wake up in a complete state because of the dream, because of the emotion, because you were running in your dream, you were scared, you triggered adrenaline to be produced in your body, right? And there have been scientific experiments to explore this. A team of neuroscientists in Germany, led by Dressler, that was I think in 2011. They did this fist clenching exercise. So they asked lucid dreamers to clench their fists while awake, and they looked at the brain and to see which areas lit up when that happened. And then they asked the lucid dreamers to become lucid in a dream and do that same fist clenching exercise. And they discovered that the same area of the brain lit up. So it was the sensory motor cortex. And they realized, okay, so the actions that we take in the dream, the running, the fist clenching, whatever it is, they will trigger a reaction. And so this is really great to know. There's also been studies on athletes. There was a study of 840 athletes, and it was discovered that they could actually improve their motor skills if they practiced them in the lucid dream stage. So things like swimming or kickboxing, because of course it makes sense that there's so much of a link between the dream body and the waking body. And so these things help us to understand a little bit more how dream healing can work. And then also it's to do, of course, with the power of intention. And it's very important to have this pure intent if you would like to heal yourself. And you think, well, of course I want to heal myself. We all want to heal. But the other question that I also invite people to reflect upon is there any way in which having this illness is kind of helping you in some way or protecting you from something? What's this illness actually doing? Are there any advantages to this particular illness? And usually the reaction is like, of course not. I hate having my knee in so much pain that I can't play tennis anymore or whatever. And then perhaps you dig a little deeper with that person and discover that, in fact, they were under a great deal of stress with their tennis playing. There was too many expectations on them. They felt under pressure. They felt that they were never good enough. And so, in a sense, not being able to play tennis was relieving some of that pressure. So there are sometimes, we just have to be open-minded about this and really think about, why did this illness come up for me? Are there any advantages to it that I'm not consciously aware of, but try and find out what they are. See if you can bring any of those reasons for the illness into it. And there may not be any. There may not be any reason that you can find for why you had this illness. But I think it's just good to reflect. So I hope you'll reflect without judging, just open-minded, and just consider the illness, what it allows you to do or stops you from doing. Those two things, and that sometimes sheds light on it. And some of you may have also had dreams which warn you of illness. You can be thinking about this. You can ask me questions about this when we come to the question portion of this workshop. These are very common dreams, in fact, again, because the dream body and the physical body are so interlinked. But often, if we have dreams about an illness, they'll emerge in streams of very vivid imagery, and they may be difficult to decipher at first. One guy, this is a guy who wrote a book called Healing Dreams. His name is Mark Barash, and he had a really horrible nightmare that people were torturing him with hot coals under his chin, like burning him under his chin. And he had no idea what that was about. He was being tortured, what's going on. But he went to the doctors and discovered that he actually had thyroid cancer. And the thing is about dreams, of course, they know what's going on in our body before we are consciously aware of it, before we have any actual symptoms. It's normal because there's this unconscious connection going on. This is why it's so good to be in tune with our dreams if we want to be healthy in life, generally, emotionally healthy and physically healthy. So I really hope that that everyone listening writes down their dreams, pays attention to their dreams, not to get completely paranoid, of course, about any nightmare you have, thinking, oh, what if that means I have cancer or I'm going to die next week? That's not what this is supposed to be about. The more you get in tune with your dreams, the more you will understand when a dream is coming from the body or when it is simply symbolic. And most dreams are symbolic. Most dreams are emotional. They're based on our psychology, but some of the dreams are physical. So it's good to be able to recognize those. And studies have been done also by Dr. Larry Burke. He did a study on dreams warning of breast cancer in women. And there are some incredible stories about that. Sometimes there would be stories where the person would dream that their deceased father or some other relative would come to them in a dream and just shout, "You have breast cancer," and they'd be like, "What?" But I feel absolutely fine. And then there'd be perhaps another dream where they're told, "You must go to see a doctor quickly. You have to get this sorted," and they would go to the doctor and discover that indeed they did have breast cancer. And sometimes there's just this small window where we need to actually get to see a doctor and get treatment started before the cancer, for example, gets more aggressive or spreads. So it's good to stay in touch with our dreams, bearing in mind, as I've just said, that most of them are going to be emotional and symbolic and not mean that that we have a horrible illness or something. But just stay in touch with your dreams. That's a gateway to lucidity as well. The non-lucid dreams are a gateway to lucid dreaming. So if you're interested in lucid dreaming, then your non-lucid dreams are super important as well. Write them down, engage with them, look at the symbolism, look at the recurring themes in your dreams, work with nightmares. Don't shun your nightmares and push them away, because they are so powerful and they have so much potential to help us transform on every level of our being. Yeah. Now I've been working with cancer patients. I work with all sorts of people because I give private sessions to people who come for lucid dream mentoring. So it's anybody and everybody. But recently I've been working more with people with really pretty serious diseases. And it's beautiful to see how lucid dreaming can help these people. It can help to alleviate pain. It can help simply in terms of relaxing them more, helping them to set intentions in lucid states of consciousness. So the one person that I'm thinking of who has stage 4 cancer, one of her main issues is being unable to sleep at night because of the pain. So if you can't sleep, of course, you're not going to really be able to have lucid dreams, right? Because your body, as soon as it does manage to fall asleep, will just grab as much of the deep recuperative sleep as it possibly can. The dreams will sort of come later, but it has to go down into that deep sleep. So she was finding, she wasn't getting lucid and she was worried about that. So we worked together doing some lucid journeying, which involves humming, which involves the vibration, and actually just kind of adding a healing intention to the humming as it goes through your body. And this is part of my Portals course as well, which I'll talk about in a little while. Actually takes you right through this, so you can turn your whole body into this vibrating healing portal, and move from there into a healing visualization, or perhaps directly into a lucid dream from there. And so she found that with this just very simple sound healing meditation that I gave her, that she was able to sleep, which is just blissful. Plus, it's one of the most healing states of consciousness ever, right? So that has really helped her. And also doing daily lucidity practices. And these are really simple as well. We can do it right now. You can do it right now with me if you like. Just take a little moment. You can close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths and settle into your body. And feel the breath moving in and out of your body, like the ocean breathing. And bring your attention to your senses. What can you hear? What can you see behind your closed eyelids? What can you smell or taste? What can you feel, touch? And now open your eyes and look around. Look around as if this is the first time you've ever seen the world. and bring your attention to all of your senses. What can you feel? What can you hear right now? What can you see or taste? And say to yourself, I am lucid in the here and now. I am lucid in the here and now. And ask yourself, am I dreaming? Really ask yourself that question. How do you know you're not dreaming? Maybe do a reality check if you want to. Try to put your finger through your hand, see if it goes through. Or pinch your nose and try and breathe through your closed nostrils with your mouth closed. Or try and float into the air, see if you can float. But take this moment just to experience life, waking life, as a dream. This is a really good lucidity practice. It's also gorgeous to do it in nature. And when you have yourself, when you've brought yourself to that higher level of lucid awareness by doing that super simple practice, then you can bring a healing intention into your mind. Imagine yourself in vibrant physical health. That's very important. Imagine your body working perfectly. Imagine yourself running or dancing, smiling happily, feeling really good in every part of your body, every cell of your body glowing with life and vitality. Yeah, so try that. If you're on a healing journey, do that a few times a day. Get out into nature. Nature's so healing. Make sure you always get enough sleep. That's very important for healing as well. And open yourself up to these other lucid states of awareness in which we can heal. Lucid dreaming, waking dream work, lucid hypnagogia, lucid journeying. These are guided meditations, dream inductions, and the lucid light. We can experience the lucid light in any state of consciousness, the waking state included, of course, but it kind of feels more accessible when we're in the hypnagogic state or when we become lucid in a dream. These states where our critical mind has been turned off to an extent. But the lucid light, I consider it to be the baseline state of consciousness. We all think that the waking state is the baseline state somehow, but I don't think it is. It's this state of light. This is the light that we all emerged from when we were born and that we all return to when we die. You can hear reports of this light from people who have near-death experiences or people who have spiritual experiences in like out-of-body experiences or lucid dreams. But you can also, once you start getting more into noticing the lucid light, noticing the light in your dreams, for example, the more it will come to you. So I have situations sometimes. I'm a writer. I've written 7 books on lucid dreaming, and 2 of those are novels. But when I'm working on a book, it's very intense, right? And I have deadlines. And I've had situations in the past where I've just felt almost ill. By the time I finally sent the manuscript off to my editor, I'm just exhausted. One of these times I just crawled into my bed. I was like, I don't care if it's 11 o'clock in the morning, I can't, I just feel ill. Felt really, really ill. So I got into my bed, and the moment I closed my eyes, there was this light that came from the corners of the room. It just kind of came in, and it held me. It picked me up and held me. And I was there. I mean, I had no sense of time, but I felt totally blissed out, amazing. I knew that this lucid light had come to heal me. And when I kind of came out of it, I looked at the clock, and 1.5 hours had gone past. And I felt incredible. I felt amazing. I jumped out of bed. I was happy. I felt completely vibrantly alive, as if I just recharged my batteries. And I went off on a long bike ride by the river, full of vitality and energy. So when we learn to invite the lucid light into our lives, It's like a way of recharging. It's like plugging into the source energy of life. And that can be, of course, an incredibly healing experience as well. Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much more I'd like to say. What I'll do, I think, is I'll give you a few tips for lucid dream healing and tell you a little bit more about my portals class as well, and then we can move into the Q&A, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have. So, if you become lucid in a dream and you would like to heal yourself, there are a number of options open to you. In fact, there are probably an infinite number of options. So you can go with it and make up your own thing as well. But here are some tips for what has worked for me and many others as well. When you become lucid in a dream, you can simply ask the dream for healing. Please help me to heal my shoulder. You know, something like that, just very, very kind of open invitation, help me to heal. You can also obtain information. Why do I have this problem? Why is my shoulder hurting? Why do I get these terrible headaches? Why is my vision deteriorating? Whatever it is, ask the dream. Ask the dream for help. You can also call on guides to help you. For example, if you have a guide who shows up regularly in your dreams, remembering this could also be an animal, and also remembering what I said earlier about how animals, even if they seem aggressive, are often there to help us, to bring us strength, and to help us to fight a particular illness. So if you have any kind of ally or guide, you can call on them in your lucid dream and ask them to help you directly. You could also call on a trusted medical figure, or you could call on your ancestors. People that sometimes discover that there are ancestral reasons for a particular illness that shows up all the time, you know, in their family. Their great-grandmother had it, their grandmother had it, then their mother, now they've got it. And they look back and they discover there's been some trauma in the family, and this could be linked to whatever illness it is, heart disease, for example. And so they can then call on the ancestors in the lucid dream to help them, help me to heal my heart, help me to release any ancestral trauma that's residing in me somehow. Okay, so those are those possibilities, calling on particular beings or figures or family members for help. And you can also, what works very well for me is you directly heal yourself by taking your hand in the lucid dream, charging it up with healing intention, healing energy, and then putting it on the part of your body that is suffering. Okay, so bring it directly to your belly if you're having stomach issues, or your foot if you have foot pain, that sort of thing. You can also combine this with a healing chant or a power word, and the dream is so thought responsive. Lucid dreams are so thought responsive that if your intent is pure, your healing intention, then something is going to happen. Just be open to what happens. And this is the other very important thing, is not to get too fixed on, I have to do X, Y, and then Z to heal myself. And it's nice to have a plan before you go into the lucid dream, right? Like, oh, I'm going to heal myself with healing energy from my hand. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay. Something even better may happen. Trust the dream. Trust your unconscious mind. So it's good to be flexible and follow your intuition when you're in these healing dreams. You could also ask for a gift. Ask the lucid dream environment for a gift, or the lucid dream figure. And you can also create a healing environment. Like you could say, I want to heal myself of this skin disease, so I'm going to turn around and there will be a healing pool of water, and I'm going to jump into that healing pool. You jump in with that full intention to heal yourself, expecting it to happen, expecting yourself to wake up healed. And this is all very kind of powerful psychological work to do that can really, really help us to heal. Also because the lucid dream is so realistic. You know, you're in there, it's as real, it feels as real as us sitting here right now. Okay, So those are some of the possibilities for actually healing yourself in a lucid dream. And remember, you can also use any of these different techniques when you're, kind of on a lucid journey, you're listening to a guided meditation, or you're in the hypnagogic state. So I'll just talk for a moment now about my portals class, in case any of you are interested in having some help with becoming lucid and with healing in different states of consciousness. So the portals class is called Portals into Lucid Journeying and Sound Healing. And I have created video lessons and also guided audio meditations with music. I have a musician who creates all this beautiful deep music to go with it, and my voice guides you through it. And we go through various different portals, all the elemental portals: air, earth, fire, water, and then sound and spirit. So what happens in these meditations is that we will go to different places in our imagination when we're on the cusp of sleep, in that very creative state of consciousness. For example, in one of them, we go to Stonehenge. In another one, we become a phoenix rising from the flames. There are all sorts of kind of stories to go with them. But it's also about how lucidity is always there. It's so close. There are portals into lucidity everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Anything can be a portal. If you look around you now, imagining that this is a lucid dream, you will see portals everywhere. So like this glass of water could be a portal in a dream, right? A mirror could be a portal, and very often is in a dream. There are so many different places that we can go with our imagination. If you go and walk in nature, you see a tree, that's your portal into lucid dreaming. That's your portal to healing. So there's so much more I could say about the course, but I think Jake has put a link here, and you can get 25% off if you use the coupon code at checkout, which is WOLD, which stands for World of Lucid Dreaming, because I'm doing this seminar together with Jake. So yeah, I hope that if you're interested, you will check it out. There are loads of other courses as well, and I also have all my books. The biggest one, which really goes into dream healing, is Llewellyn's Complete Book of Lucid Dreaming, and then I also have Dream Therapy and The Art of Lucid Dreaming and The Art of Transforming Nightmares. So, okay, I'm ready to take questions. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about these different possibilities for lucid dream healing, and yeah, I look forward to hearing some questions. I received a few via email. I'm just going to open up the Q&A. So someone says, hello, Dr. Clare, this is Adrian. Could you share with us the most dramatic experience you witnessed or oriented in regard of physical issue healing? Thanks. Yes. Well, there are many examples, of course. One which I really enjoyed hearing about was Dr. Beverly Durso. She told me about a time when she went to the doctor, and he said that he saw a mass in her uterus, which could be a tumor. So it could be cancer, something like that. And the whole uterus was engorged, and she knew she had to heal. She was told to go back 10 days later for another scan. And so she had a lucid dream where she was standing with her son, and in fact his name's also Adrian, and they were standing together, and she saw these kind of like UFO type things, these huge things in the sky, and her son was scared, and she said, oh, don't be scared, they came to heal me. And then this light was beamed down from these floating UFO-like things, and it went into her body, and she felt the healing take place on a cellular level. And then when she woke up, she didn't know if it had really worked or not, right? She had to wait for the scan. And she went to the doctors, and there was no sign of a mass, and the uterus had gone down to its usual size again. So I thought that was one that was kind of impressive. It's always hard with these things to know, was it the lucid dream, or was that going to happen anyway, right? Also, when we're working on trying to heal other people, was it because I beamed light onto them in a lucid dream that they woke up and didn't have any ankle pain anymore, or was the ankle pain going to go anyway? So in terms of the science, all we really have are these anecdotal stories of people healing themselves in lucid dreams, plus the the connection between the dream body and the waking body that I discussed earlier with scientific studies into the fist clenching or how athletes can improve their skills in lucid dreams. But that was just one example. There are plenty more in my books, of course, examples from people all over the world. Okay, so, oh, another one. Among your books, which ones are specially dedicated to healing through lucidity or lucid dreaming? Yeah, so Llewellyn's complete book of lucid dreaming has a ton of examples. It also explores nightmares. It explores healing other people in lucid dreams. It talks about spiritual lucid dreaming, and it has all the kind of usual how to get lucid, how to stay lucid. That's this book. That's my really big one. That took me 20 years, 20 years of research and gathering examples to get that together. So I'd work with that one. Okay, hang on. Okay, what is the connection between sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming? What is your advice for those with sleep paralysis? Is there a way to work with these terrifying experiences? Is there any way to use it for healing? That's Jeff's question. Yeah, there's a huge connection between sleep paralysis and lucid dreaming. Sleep paralysis, yes, it can feel really scary. I've had thousands of sleep paralysis experiences. When I was young, I had no idea what it was all about. But the thing to remember is that there's no point in fighting it, because then you get panicked, and it's a thought responsive environment. So you have to learn to calm yourself down in that state. You still have control over your breathing, so breathe slowly, relax, and remind yourself that the fantastic thing about sleep paralysis is that you are effortlessly lucid, okay? With no effort, you are basically on the cusp of lucid dreaming. So from within that state, put out a healing intention. Once you've calmed yourself down, put out a healing intention. Imagine yourself in an egg of white light or light of any color, safe, protected, and just bring that healing intention into your egg of light. That's very, very powerful, very effective. And you may find that also then takes you directly into a lucid dream. This is the amazing thing that I discovered when I was like 20 and having all these sleep paralysis experiences. Wow, sleep paralysis is a gateway into beautiful lucid dreams. So I had to kind of learn to navigate it. I didn't have any books to read on the topic back then. I just kind of had to go along with it and experiment with different things. But yeah, keep calm. Remind yourself that this is fantastic because you're already lucid, and then bring in that healing intent within an egg of light. That would be my advice for you on that. Okay, next one. As soon as I get a hint that it's a dream, I kind of push myself to a third perspective to dream. What does it mean and how to control? You push yourself to a third perspective. Do you mean like the narrator perspective, or do you mean like you're kind of outside of the dream? Maybe that's what's meant here. You can basically you can do anything in the lucid dream state. If you're not happy with the perspective that you find yourself in, then you can just say, right, I'm now going to run and do something physical to get you engaged with the dream. It's really good to engage with the dream. You could also try like rubbing your hands together. Bring yourself into the lucid dream body. If you find that your perspective is one from kind of further apart and you want to be really in the action of the dream, I would try that. Physical actions, engage with the dream, rub your hands together, start running or jumping, and then allow that to bring you into the dream. Always work with the dream body. Yeah. Okay, another one. Hello, Dr. Clare. Thank you for your extensive work, says David. Thank you. I have been working to get lucid for a couple of years. I've had brief openings into lucidity. I cannot seem to hold the lucid space. Any thoughts? Yeah, I mean, it's it's really very common for people to become lucid in a kind of flash and then wake up. So one of the things that I recommend is doing these lucid journeys. the voice, which in the case of my courses is my voice, will bring you back to awareness, right? Because we tend to lie down, relax, and then just switch off. But if you can keep the voice, like keep the voice in your mind, keep attentive to that, that is a training for lucid dreaming. It trains your mind to allow your voice, to allow your body to fall asleep while your mind is focused on something else, either the voice or, in a lucid dream, the lucid dream environment, the colors and shapes of the lucid dream, the way it feels. So it's a good way of like allowing the lucid dream to last for longer. And the other thing, I have the CLEAR technique, CLEAR technique, in most of my books. The Art of Lucid Dreaming has that. So does the Complete Book of Lucid Dreaming. That's one of the best methods as well for just calming down and staying lucid, allowing that lucid dream to expand and continue instead of getting all kind of excited and then waking up. So there are certainly ways of training the mind. Meditation also helps as well for longer lucid dreams. Yeah. Okay, someone says, you mentioned healing of others. Can you give us some tips on how to practice that? Healing other people in lucid dreams. Yeah, so the main thing for this that I'd like to say first is that it's important to ask the other person's permission. Ask them, is it okay with you if I try to heal you in a lucid dream? Okay, that's just ethically correct in my view. So make sure they're on board with it. If they're not on board with it, you'll probably know anyway, because when you direct healing intention to them in the lucid dream, you may find that a shield comes up, or they just say no, or they vanish, right? But it's always good just to ask first, just to be sure. And then, well, what I've done in the past is I lay hands on the person. Like if I know that they have thyroid cancer, then I'll lay my hand, on the neck, or simply direct. I kind of beam balls of light at them, or create a healing energy ball and then send it off in their direction. They're not always present in the lucid dream. You won't always see a physical representation of them. Don't let that bother you. You can just send the intention, trusting that it will get there. And you could also, when you ask the person if they're okay about you sending them healing energy, you could also say, well, how would you like to receive it? You can kind of get a little game plan together so that you have a goal. But as I said earlier, don't get too attached to your dream goal. Never get too attached to it. It's great to have one to focus your intention initially. Once you're in the lucid dream, go with the flow. Trust what the lucid dream brings to you. Yeah. Okay. And what is the difference between past life regression and lucid dreaming, if any? They both have the similarity of healing with the actual content of the dream and the past life. Well, I mean, lucid dreaming is not always about healing, and it's not always about past life regression. So lucid dreaming can help us, for example, with creativity. It can help us. I mean, I've written whole novels based on the creativity and the ideas that I've received from my lucid dreams. Lucid dreaming can also help us to experience spiritual events, or to meet guides. It can help us in so many other levels. It can also help us to understand why we have the relationships we have in a particular life. So, I mean, lucid dreaming is something that happens when the body is physiologically asleep, but we are awake in our minds. Okay, that's the definition of lucid dreaming, is it happens while we are asleep and dreaming. Whereas past life regression can also take place in states of hypnosis, which are similar. There are similarities between hypnosis, guided visualizations, and lucid dreaming. Yeah. Okay. How can I heal a smoking addiction using lucid dreaming? Okay, so that's a great question as well. I mean, addictions, we can really work with these in lucid dreams by asking, why do I have this addiction? Why did part of me kind of decide that I wanted to start smoking? What happened in my life when I started? All these kind of questions. But you can also set and deliver very strong intentions to your unconscious mind in the lucid dream. So you can remind yourself, for example, that smoking is extremely unhealthy. I remember one woman, she was a client of mine, and she was a heavy smoker and wanted to stop, but just, you know, it's very, very difficult for her to stop because she was under a lot of pressure and stress. And so we talked about lucid dream therapy for this. And so in the next lucid dream, she said, "How am I going to stop smoking? Please help me." Just ask the dream. And then before her, she saw like this really horrible image of lungs, really black lungs filled with tar, and saw this is what her lungs are going to look like in 5 years if she continues. She received that very strong message, and she woke up feeling really horrified by that image. It really struck her on a very deep level, even though she'd seen images like that before, but in the dream it really felt like this is going to happen in my body if I don't stop now. And that made it just somehow really simple for her to quit, because it was like on one level of her mind, she'd already decided, okay, I really don't want to have that in my life. So I'm going to quit. So it can work like that. I would try asking the dream. Yeah. Yes. And okay, someone here says, so Danish says, if I feel spirits in a dream and also communicating, is it only dream or astral entities who might have influence? So, I mean, in dreams, we meet all kinds of guides. I've actually just done a really big presentation on this at the International Association for the Study of Dreams conference, all about the nature of these dream figures that we meet. Anything from animals or deceased loved ones, all the way through to super conscious lucid dream figures. And it's fascinating to engage with them because they sometimes feel like, you know, it feels like they're not just something that we've made up or they've come out of our personal psychology, but they're actually these autonomous beings, and that's very, very exciting to work with them. And very often you have these very intense encounters with these super conscious beings. You can ask them anything, and you often receive downloads of information or wisdom from these very conscious lucid dream figures. I've had many, many dreams like this. One recent one was when I was in a white room, which means a space of light, basically, so in a space of lucid light. I was highly lucid, effortlessly lucid, and a woman walked in and she started to sing this beautiful song which really spoke to me on the soul level. And as she came up to me, I saw she had these amazing amber eyes, really golden, beautiful eyes. And she was just lovely, really lovely being. And then as I looked into her eyes, they merged together and became one giant third eye. It was really incredible visually. And then she beamed out all this information into me, and it was like seeing how the cosmos came to being. I felt like I understood the timelessness of the universe, and how everything has a place in that universe, and how everything is made of this incredible light energy and consciousness. And I mean, it's very hard to put into words. It was like this download. And at the very end, there was this spark of light that came out of her third eye, and it went into my heart. And when I woke up, I could still feel that light in my heart. And I realized, oh, wow, we are all made from light. So meeting these super conscious lucid dream figures can be just a fantastic experience, and can help us to understand the nature of the universe, why we're here, why we exist. It puts our life into perspective, and it can help us to heal as well on all levels of our being. Yeah, thank you, everybody. I mean, I think we've pretty much finished. We're pretty much out of time now. I guess if I leave you with a final thought, it's just really to remind you that you are very strong. You're a stronger healer than you know. You can heal yourself. And we can utilize lucid states of consciousness, such as lucid dreaming, lucid hypnagogia, waking dream work, lucid journeying, and the lucid light, to enable us to bring this powerful healing energy into our hearts, minds, our bodies, and we can really cause quite deep transformation to take place when we do this. So I wish you all health and happiness, and I hope that you'll stay in touch and you can ask me questions. My website is deepluciddreaming.com, and I'm Dr. Clare Johnson. Thank you very much for attending the session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your messages in the chat. That's wonderful. Thank you.